I want to know, can Nimasa confirm to us categorically that the contents of MT Grace were actually stolen?
Yes, we're saying that emphatically. I said here, it was a product of a hijack of a Panamanian ship, MT Emerald, Anutech Emerald.
So that story is not going to change?
No, it's not going to change.
Okay,
and those that stole it went as far as distorting the name of that vessel. That's
the MT Grace?
No, the Emerald.
Okay.
They deleted the EM and left MT Rald.
On the documentation?
No, the documented, yes. Even the ship.
Wow.
Well, just before you go, since you are the ED Maritime Labour Cabotage Services, let's quickly talk about this cabotage law you talked about. What's it about? You know, sometimes you get to hear all of this. What does it bring to us as a nation? How does it help us with regards to dealing with other nations?
Yeah, the Cabotage Act, known as a Coastal and Inland Act 2003, was a law enacted specifically to build indigenous capacity, to restrict transportation within our coastal and inland waters to Nigerian flagged ships, ships owned by Nigerians, ships built by Nigerians and manned by Nigerians. It is meant actually to give them both human capacity and infrastructural capacity. And government realizing that it's an area where you need a lot of money to go into, government had to set up the CVFF, the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. That fund is a fund that government is putting at the disposal of people who are in that line of business, the local shipping companies, to assess for purposes of purchasing vessels to enable them compete in the cabotage business. That's within and around Nigeria. So the fund is available, but it is only available to those who are genuine businessmen doing the business of shipping.
When was this fund made available?
2003, that was when the law came into being, but the money over time has accumulated. It runs into billions of naira and hundreds of millions of dollars now. And we are at the verge of dispersing it. As we speak, 12 companies have been pre-qualified, and they will soon access the fund. And we have primary lending institutions that have these funds domiciled in their accounts. So it's kind of structured in such a way that both the company, the owner now, the person who is applying to access the fund, makes a contribution to show seriousness, to show capacity, financial capacity. They are expected to provide 15% counterpart funding. The banks provide 35%. Nimasa provides 50%.
Does Nimasa prosecute any offenders, either of this cabotage or oil theft?
No, we don't prosecute. We enforce. We enforce the law. So we have enforcement agents who go out, board ships to ensure that these laws are, not broken. There's conformity with the law.
So in the case of, say, ships that are coming from Eastern Europe that berth on the outer bar, does the Nimasa have any jurisdiction over that?
Yes, any ship that comes into Nigeria, Nimasa has the right. We are a regulatory agency. We are also empowered to ensure there's safety, there's security. There are, the business it has international conventions, that the owners of ships must adhere to. So it is within the purview of the law and it is within our powers to enforce compliance with international conventions.
Is it very similar to local content within, the Local Content Act that was implemented in the oil?
Precisely, that's what the Cabotage Act seeks to do.
Well, Chamberlain, I think before we wrap this up, one more thing I think Nimasa will help Nigerians do is, the president has just said all those given national honors, if they were found wanting, he will strip them of that honor. And we just might be helping the nation and the president, just in case this big owner of MT Grace just bagged the national honor. In any case, who is bigger than an ex-minister? When we talk about big boys, if we can drop the name of Emmanuel Iheanacho, former minister, we should be able to also tell us the owner of MT Grace. Why is it difficult for us to name this owner of MT Grace?
Do you know why it's difficult for now?
Because it makes me want to be bad and be as big as MT Grace that no one can ever say what name he is known as.
Do you know why it's a bit not wise, reasonable to do it now?
Why?
Because we're dealing with somebody, a person of substance that we just mentioned his name. We're still dealing with that. So we want to finish with that before we call more names. Otherwise, we will be coming here on a regular basis.
So was it an error to have mentioned that person of substance name, which you're still dealing with?
It's not an error. It will never be. And we have said it, and we're very serious about it. If we get you, we must mention your name. But then, we have to do our work. There are internal things we need to do before we go on air.
Do you know how soon investigations will be concluded?
Well, we'll have to liaise with those that are handling the investigation, and then we'll be able to tell you precisely when it will be concluded. But for now, it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
And how long do you think it will take? I mean, roughly?
As soon as possible. We're almost concluding.
You can put any time frame to it.
Like you said, there will be need for us to come periodically, to tell you about our activities. We're doing that presently. Nimasa has a program with channels. We run on a weekly basis now. So it is actually meant to tell the people what we do as an agency and how we can partner to drive the process. Because it is an area that if we commit ourselves to it, develop it to the level we want it, we'll all be beneficiaries. Because it could give our relations means of livelihood.
All right, already we have people asking questions saying, well, how come you mentioned the name of Iheanacho and you're not mentioning who owns MT Grace? That's not fair. That comes from Ife. Well, Carlo also says, well, you're not telling us something that mentioning the name doesn't mean it's guilty. To me also, everybody
and I have this one here saying MT Grace is Akoto Ventures, an Ijoman said to be a relative of the DG of Nimasa.
Oh dear.
And they say Nimasa is not statutorily empowered. Well, so many other stories we're getting from people now. Now people are making up stories, telling us stories that it belongs to an Ijoman. They have not placed the name to it, and also a relative of the DG. These are things that we shouldn't let people be saying. Since you say you have a program and we can't...
Excuse me.
Yes.
You see, let me do this. Do you know how I'm going to do it? I'm going to do it because it appears Nimasa is being blackmailed. People associate Nimasa with a particular individuals and people from a particular tribe. And they deliberately want to leave out that aspect of our law that says Nimasa should do this or that or that. But for purposes of telling that person that they are the very mischievous people we're talking about in this society, I'm going to mention that name. I'll give you the name now. And then you will now tell me if that name looks like an Ijo name or an Igbo name or Hausa name. I'm going to give you. The owner of MT Grace is Benga Olagoke. Benga Olagoke. Is he an Ijo name?
Okay, so that answers those of you who are tweeting and saying all such a thing.
So you see, please let us help ourselves. We need to get this job done. Except if they are telling us that we should go and sit down in the comfort of our homes and allow these boys to take over our water.